Very good morning to all of you. Today, I am going to discuss with all of you about one important organ in the body. Human brain is the one which I am going to talk about. You would have realized that by now. Human brain is a crown jewel in creation and evolution. It is also the most sophisticated engineering marvel as on today. But unfortunately, it doesn't have the user's manual. So everyone can use it the way they want. From the time the life has become multicellular organisms, it seems to be the nature's law that to create a regulatory system. Therefore, the nervous system has come up as a regulatory body within the body, and you see that over the time, a variety of shapes and sizes of the brains, which has evolved starting from forming the primitive neural systems to reptilian, limbic, mammalian, and eventually coming up to the human neocortex. And with such a great evolution, and if you can look at that, the entire evolution can be grouped into three categories of the human brain. So first, the brain has started as the reptilian brain. It's the oldest possible and is available in very lower animals. It is nothing but a reflex brain. It can only react to self as well as to the surrounding environment. It has no planning, it has no thinking. Then came the mammalian brain, which left to that is the limbic brain, is a kind of a programmed brain, which is serving the three important functions: seeking the food, second thing, propagation of the species, third is the fight or the flight reaction. So that is why it's called as a programmed brain, which is there in the most of the animals. In addition to that, it is the brain which is responsible for all the emotions. And with these emotions, which are about 2 billion years old now, and the colonization, liking each other, living together, herds and groupisms and territorial behaviors have started in the animal kingdom. Moving on to the neo brain, which is the latest and human brain, which has folded itself into many convolutions to accommodate inside, has grown significantly, engulfing the other two primitive brains. If you look at that, interestingly, we have all these things, one superimposed by the other. The lowermost is the reptilian brain, the middle is the limbic brain, and the top is the neocortex, which superimposed on each other, and the higher brain has the controls to control the regulatory system of the other two brains as well. And this new brain is just very recent, which is about 150 million years. Now, the human brain has evolved into a great and expanded frontally, which is the frontal lobe. The middle is the parietal lobe, back is the occipital lobe, and the temporal lobe. And it has got a surface area of 2,000 square meters. And that is how it's been folded beautifully to accommodate into the human skull. And it contributes only to 2% of the body weight, but significantly to the head weight, right? And it has got 100 billion neurons. And this is the one which is called as the gray matter or the cortex. And these 100 billion neurons can give axons, which has the ability of making 300 trillion synapses in our lifetime, which constitutes the white matter. And surprisingly, all of us have the ability of using only 10% in our lifetime. That's the capacity the brain has. Now, if you look at that, in the bargain, the 3-layer cortex of the limbic brain has expanded into 6-layer brain cortex, accomplishing variety of functions, thereby performing sensory, motor, and communication abilities. And all these functions are being controlled by one single area, which is called intellectual brain or the prefrontal cortex. That is the one which has a right to support or to inhibit other two primitive brains and a V2 effect as well. Now, if you look at the structure with the current imaging, the brain structure looks like that with all the fibers connecting each area within the same side and also to the opposite side. It looks like a complex network, and for the neurosurgeons to get into that brain looks like a challenging task of entering the Padma Vyuha. And therefore, we have to develop a lot of technology over the period of time. You look at my operating room, operating theater looks like a cockpit of an aircraft. I have to use both hands and both legs to use the technology. I wish I can borrow a few hands from him so that I can use this technology much better and more efficiently. Now, coming to the functionality of the brain, anatomically or structurally, all the brains look identical and similar, whereas functionally every brain is different. So this is the beauty of this organ. And if you look at that, the functional aspect, I have a different way of presenting it to you for the better understanding. So one thing is called as the voluntary brain, where every movement is a conscious decision and executed along the cortex. And you know that the left brain controls the right hand and vice versa. And from the left brain, the signals will come down to the spinal cord. Through the peripheral nerve, it goes to the particular muscle to move the hand. And every single movement and every conscious decision is made through this voluntary brain. Whereas we have another involuntary brain, that many things that is happening inside the body, like heart rate, regulation, digestion, excretion, breathing, and all goes without our knowledge. And this is what is an involuntary brain, which is being mediated. Autonomic nervous system, which maintains the homeostasis and the normal physiology of the body. Now, in this autonomic nervous system, we have two things. One is a sympathetic nervous system, which secretes specific hormones like noradrenaline, adrenaline, and corticosteroids, whereas the parasympathetic system, which is very quiet and mediated through acetylcholine. Now, the noradrenaline, adrenaline, all these are the fight or flight system. They are the crisis management system, essentially. Therefore, the hormones that are produced there are meant for the war and fighting and energy production. So now, if you keep using the sympathetic system, you are burning your energy. And whereas the parasympathetic system is meant for the peace, construction, positive immunity, and positive responses, and long-term planning. Now, at the same time, it is also important that the intestine has got interesting neurons, which has got connected directly to the brain, and there is a bi-way communication between the brain and the gut all the time. Now we consider the gut as the second brain. No wonder people talk about the gut feelings, as well as if somebody wants to do something very interesting, if you go and tell somebody, people ask them, do you have the guts to do? Nobody will ask, do you have the brains to do? So there seems to be a lot of sense in this, because the same chemical products which are produced in the brain are also present in the gut, and vice versa. We do not know whether they are produced in the gut and going to the brain, or produced in the brain or coming to the gut. In any case, now the gut-brain axis is becoming a very, very important axis in everything. The microbiome, which is there in the gut, interacts with the brain directly, and they are responsible for all the epigenetics, what we are talking about today, and environmental influence on the mood, psychiatric disorder, behavior, and also the various diseases and ability of the brain function also. In addition, we have an additional brain called a humoral brain, which is mediated by the hypothalamic pituitary axis. Pituitary gland, which is a tiny gland under the brain, is called as the master gland of the endocrine orchestra, which secretes various hormones that regulates the entire metabolism of the body. Not only that, it also works in sync with the autonomic nervous system. Therefore, whenever there is a kind of a war, it knows what kind of hormones to secrete. Whenever there is a peace, it knows how other hormones are to be secreted. So, whenever you are in a rage or anger or other functions which will cause you upset, that can release a lot of these hormones which will upset yourself, and also you are getting ready to that, and it's a very long lasting reaction. Whereas the peace is always a very constructive thing, and these hormones also responsible for the parasympathetic system, is also responsible for dopaminergic system, as well as the reward system, as well as the hormones that are known as divine hormones. Now, we also have understood over the years that the brain is the seat of immunity. Now, there are specialized cells which keep circulating in the body and keep monitoring for the intruders. And these cells have an independent memory, and they have independent decision-making capacity, so that whenever there is an intruder, it can take a decision to fight and throw away those intruders, including the bacteria, virus, and many other things. So, the brain, which is responsible for this immune system, also can be mediated through a positive thinking. The more positive you think, more positive the immune system becomes, more positive the energy system becomes. That is the reason when the king is going to the war, they are praised, however inefficient he is praised to the core so that he will perform well, not only in the war, but also every day in the court, in the kingdom. Similarly, if you look at that, the brain is connected to every single cell of the body through its spinal cord and to the peripheral nervous system. Now you realize that The entire thing is the brain, and you are nothing but the brain. Now, the fundamental functional unit through which the brain functions and performs every single activity day and night is the neuron. It is the neuron which is there in the gray matter of the brain, a cell which has got a lot of dendrites which is connecting. These are the dendrites which collect all the information from the surrounding areas and pass it on to the cell. And this cell in turn creates a process through which the electrical signal will pass through at a speed of 180 square meters per second. And it reaches the terminal end where through the synaptic signals, it will transform the electrical signal into a chemical signal to produce the action. Now, without a neuron, no action can take place in the body. So it's very important. So these dendrites we think that is a very permanent thing, but they can keep changing depending upon our thinking, our activity, our learning, and activity performance, what we do. So brain, especially in humans, have acquired several special features because of which we are considered completely different from the rest of the living beings at the moment, what we know in this universe. So most important of them is the learning, the speech, and memory. For known or unknown reasons, all the three functions are dominantly located in the left brain, and because of that, the left brain is known as the dominant or a predominant brain. Now, over the years, right and the left brain, they have lateralized several functions. The left brain is very analytical and very logical, good at mathematics, very good at analyzing the big data, confined to the boundaries, more specific, and responsible for the identity as well as for the ego of an individual. Whereas the right brain is exactly opposite, is quite intuitive, quite imaginatory, musical, and rhythmic, and no boundaries, and looks at the gross whole thing. Now, if I look at this hall, the right brain looks at the entire hall and all the people together, whereas the left brain looks at individuals who are sitting, and I try to identify them. And that's how it works. But though they are two distinctive brains, they all work together. Because of that, though we have two eyes, we see one object. Though we have two hands, we perform a single objective. And over the years, the two brains have combinedly, as well as independently, have evolved with several functions like intention, innovation, imagination, integrity, intuition, and intrusion, which is becoming the responsible for wars all over the world today. And the last but not the least is the inhibition, that has the one which has evolved us into a human culture. At the same time, we have evolved a discipline, discrimination, decision-making, dominance, as well as because of the intrusions, we also were forced to build a defense systems. Having known that brain has so much of capacity, it is important now how to protect this brain. It is very, very important. Though the brain is very highly demanding at work, requires maximum amount of blood supply, energy, all that, it is very highly sensitive organ, prone for variety of damages. These damages can, most of the times, are man-made. Therefore, to the larger extent, they are avoidable or preventable. One of the commonest thing is the physical injury. Unfortunately, we have the dubious distinction of having the highest number of accidents in this country, with the largest number of deaths related to the road traffic accidents. The next becoming a fashion today is the drug abuse, substance abuse, smoking, alcoholism, and we also have variety of environmental pollutions which are leading to significant brain degeneration at a very early age, causing to a group of neurological disorders, including Alzheimer's and dementias, Parkinson's disease. And last but not the least is emotional stress we were talking about. The competition today, unhealthy competition, rat race, which is causing the emotional stress. The only way we can manage this is by enjoying doing whatever you want. And unless emotional stress is reduced, you will not have at peace. And the peace and happiness is the most important thing for the best efficiency with which you can use the brain. And last but not the least is the group of diseases that can damage the brain temporarily or permanently, leading to significant amount of disability as well as death, is the stroke, which is the leading cause of disability in the world today. At the same time, infections, which you are all aware of. Now, so to protect the brain, the second step is that, first step is that how do we enhance the brain's ability? That is, first thing is the concept is called brain wellness. We need to take care of the brain. which is the mysterious, unfathomable, unlimited organ which you possess in your own head. So first thing that is required is the balanced nutrition. The second is regular exercise. And the last two, the quality sleep as well as emotional balance is non-negotiable. Though we think that we are sleeping, brain is very active day and night. At night what it does is all the information what we have collected, unwanted information is being deleted at night. So it replaces the neurons, the dendrites into a fresh neurons and make it ready for the next day. And all the materials that has been utilized, neurotransmitters, chemicals, hormones will be replenished at night. And last but not the least is the repair of the entire system, including the brain as well as the body. The repair process takes place at the night. So replacement, replenishment, restoration and repair are the four things that happen at night. So sleep is very, very important, and sleep deprivation will halt all these things leading to brain damage. And most important is the emotional balance. You need to have a perfect emotional balance and relations with everybody, including, so you don't lose anything by being friendly with everyone and being nice to everyone. And as I told you, if we use more sympathetic nervous system, you trigger that. You use your adrenaline, you burn yourself, and it will cause tremendous amount of emotional imbalance as well as autoimmune disorders by causing depressed immune system. So you can be sympathetic to others, but don't activate your own sympathetic system. All that you need to use that is only the parasympathetic system, which you can do it by doing exercise, good diet, good sleep, and keeping the erect posture all the time. Now, all that most important thing is that, mindedness, I call in the emotional balance. Brain is not meant for multitasking. Please remember, if you do multitasking, your efficiency of the brain will come down. And it is designed to do a single task at any time. That is what is called focus. People also call this as mindfulness, but I call this as mindedness. So what is that mindedness where it is coming from? And it is from the mind. Mind is a subtle body, also scientifically known as a bioelectrical field, which is nothing but your experiences, images, feelings, thoughts, and all the things accumulated over the years as you grow. And this not only confined to your body, extends beyond the body and entangles with others' brains. That is how you connect with others. And it's very interesting that people say if they want to move away from you, if you don't mind, it's invisible, but they say that. Now, there are two things in the mind. One is a finite mind, which is the one which is responsible for all the illusions which you have seen just before. And if you can stop the unnecessary inputs that is coming through WhatsApp and everything, bombarding the brain, your mind can become quieter and silence. The more silence the mind becomes, then you will get the ability to use your own inner energy, which will get activated, and that has the ability to connect to the universal memory. And then your potential will become multidimensional. You will move out from three-dimensional to multidimensional levels by utilizing your own inner energy rather than using the mind all the time. So don't depend completely on the mind, but try to relax and analyze and see with the clarity. Now, the next important, how do we achieve this? To move from three-dimensional to multidimensional ability of the brain is by having a complete awareness. And the awareness, we need to have the awareness of our own body. And all of us are today aware of only two things: the complexion of the body and the weight of the body. That is not important. You need to be completely aware of your own body. Unless the body is fit, the brain cannot execute its functions. The next important is awareness of the speech. If you are aware of every word you speak, you are not going to hurt anybody in this world. Therefore, you are making others happy. You will also be happy. When you are happy, your performance will multiply. And third, most important is the awareness of the thought. It's very difficult. You need to practice a lot to do this. But if the awareness of thought can become positive, you are introducing a positive immune system, positive humoral system, activating the parasympathetic system, and your abilities goes manifold. And when you achieve all the three at all the time, then you will see those multiple layers you cross into going into your own central core, which is called awareness of being. When you are aware of being of yourself, then you are living in a state of happiness all the time. And wherever you are, regardless of the external circumstances, you can be happy and blissful. Now, once you make this into habits, brain learns every task by creating a special circuit for that inside the brain. And there are circuits are many things. A simple motor circuits are like this, but there are circuits using the different types of neurons, different parts of the brain, and different body-brain connections. And these circuits should be full, like what is shown on the top, where you can have a full ability of the brain. You can use it to the best potential possible in this lifetime. So for that, you need to develop the good habits and continue to practice that so they become perfect and they become better and better with time. And these circuits are the basis today for the artificial intelligence. For every task, there is a special circuit. That's what they're trying to computerize and create this artificial intelligence today. And as I told you, body has 36 trillion cells approximately. Brain is in touch with each of the single cell day in and day out, monitors them, gives them the direction, takes the feedback. That is why I call brain as an internal auditor. And therefore, it satisfies all our internal needs, external demands, social interactions, and also the higher connectivity. Now, to get the higher connectivity, you need that yoga, meditation, and pranayama, which will enhance the abilities quickly with the guidance. Now, apart from that, brain has certain very unique qualities. Each cell is different, each area of the brain is different and serves a different function, yet there is a unity in diversity. All the things together, they perform a task with efficiency to the utmost perfection. The next thing is there is a tremendous amount of integrity and confidentiality. The myelination, the covering, there's no crosstalk at all in the brain. So what is the task meant for a particular part of the body will be given exactly without any crosstalk, loss of information. The third, it's got a tremendous amount of leadership qualities. It controls every cell. It controls all the organs. It keeps them together, makes them work at the right time, the right work with the right output. And that's what it tries to do all the time throughout the life. That's without any uncompromised quality. And most important is the memory playback. So you are able to work, innovate, and create a world today for you and others is because of your memory, learning, and the innovation that you are trying to do that. But at the same time, it is a playback singer. It doesn't take any credit. Therefore, everything credit goes to other organs. In fact, if you donate something, people say you have a big heart. Okay? If you do something heroic, they say he has got guts to do it. If somebody says very stand up upright, he has the spine to do it. But nobody says brain is doing this. So that's the beauty of the brain, and brain doesn't mind that. It makes it do. That's a true leadership quality. Though it is a king, always works as a kingmaker, doesn't take the credit and remains as a playback singer. Those who are interested only can know about the credibility of the brain, not in general public. So, two essential informations or take-home messages I would like to do that. All the learning that happens throughout our life happens through the 5 sensory organs, the input that comes from them. And that is what causes the perception of the world today and understanding. And this information is processed inside the brain, and that's what becomes the mind. And it's not only from your information, you also collect from the others' information as well, and that makes you get the rich experience of this life. And this rich experience, in turn, creates memory. And every thought today comes from the memory. And memory will take the right action. Now, what I wanted you to realize is that if you can avoid living in the past, try to look at everything fresh, then your perception can change every day. Your perception can be fresh. And when the perception is fresh, you look at things very clearly, and that clarity will give a different kind of a fresh programming in the brain every day. The potential of brain keeps enhancing. And that fresh programming can give rise to a fresh thought. That can give a fresh new action, which is very innovative and creative. So therefore, it is very important that all of you learn this trick of using a perception afresh, so that every perception will lead you to the reality, and every thought will lead you to the action that will fulfill the purpose of your life. You are now empowered with this knowledge to transform yourself. I hope you will transform quickly and use this wonderful organ to the best of your ability, so that you can live in peace, harmony, and love. All that what you need to do to achieve that is just use it with the right way. Thank you very much.